All right. All right. All right. All right. They're not going to keep us down, boys. We got this. I don't know what is going on. My internet is fine. My computer is fine. Everything's good. But for some reason, it was just not letting me be on screen. So we're back, boys. We're back. All right. Remember, for all of you retuning in, go ahead and throw up where you guys are from. Hello, welcome, Kazam from Pakistan. All right, guys, welcome back in. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what that little hiccup was. This is Calibrated episode 149. We're almost to 150. We're almost there. Calibrated live episode 150, rather, or 149, rather. We are this close to 150. It is going to be a very active summer, so I believe we will reach 200 rather quickly as well. I hope all of you are doing well. Let's see where we are from here. Germany, Leipzig, Stuttgart, Germany, Norway, Pennsylvania, Chicago, what is it? It's Konotop Air Base and Helicopter Base, which was just hit by Iskander missiles in Ukraine, by the way, for those of you who don't know this location. Hello, Scott from Boomertown. Hello, East Texas. Welcome, welcome. Serbia. Nice, man. Middle of bumfuck nowhere. Kind of lost right now. Well, at least you have some internet connection so you can watch this stream, bud. Sorry that you're lost somewhere. The Fed's trying to take you down, bro. I don't know. Probably just some stupid software error, but we can hope. We can hope that I'm doing that much damage. Oh, here we go. Let's get this started, boys. Before we get into it, I always like when people come in with this energy. This matches my personality right here. Hello, Scott, you pussy ass bitch. Didn't you say there were no North Koreans fighting for Russia? No, I didn't say that. In fact, if you would like to go back and look at many of my live streams and a ton of posts I've made, I specifically asked for substantial evidence. None was ever provided. The only substantial evidence we ever got was a few of these like very iffy videos from the east of the country, which didn't represent any North Koreans actually fighting for Russia, and then Ukrainian claims and some captured Asian individuals, which there are a plethora of in the Russian military. No, I specifically asked for evidence. And I also specifically stated that it is a strategic partnership between two countries that in the writing of that strategic partnership allows this exact action to happen, right? If Russia is invaded or North Korea is invaded, their troops are allowed to go and support each other. So no, I never said that. I said I wanted evidence. And I said, until there's evidence, I'm not going to take trust me, bro, as a reason for me to just assume that there are North Koreans fighting there. And even with those North Koreans fighting there weren't enough of them to change anything. So you're making a point over nothing. I openly stated that the North Koreans were there as soon as we had a factual interpretation of the situation. And guess what? It didn't change anything. The Ukrainians were pushed out and the war continues. So yeah, I don't know. I know I did not say that, but good try. Good try, Victor. Keep it up. Just trying to spice things up in here. That's fine, brother. I get it. Let's see. Not even Kurlayivka, south of Kupiansk in the Russian Oskal bridgehead. There is a section of town on the east bank of the town you don't have mapped as RU. Okay, well, I'll take a look at that. I'll have you, or I'll look at that in just a second. There are some areas in that Oskal bridgehead where if there's like a very small update that represents gray zone, sometimes I don't do it. Like I won't give the Russians every single inch that they have just because of a geolocation. Usually I need some sort of corroborating evidence on top of it. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. There's 1,000 kilometers of front line, so I'm sure my map is wrong in an area or two. All right. Thank you for your comment, though. I'll take a look at that. India attacks Pakistan. Yes, I did see that there was some more fighting going on. We have some India-Pakistan stuff to talk about. We have some big news from Yemen, and we have a ton of updates for Ukraine. So without further ado, guys, I think we should just go ahead and dive right in, huh? Let's start with those. Let's start with those map updates. Let's see. Hey Scott, who here? Hold on. Yeah. I would say the Euro bros right now are suffering big time. Germany is about to go off the deep end with their new prime minister. Or it's prime minister, right, in Germany? Yeah, I'm almost positive. I can't remember right now. It's I don't know if they have a president, or is it a prime minister? Either way, chancellor. That's what it is, chancellor. That's why I couldn't think of it, because nobody else has a freaking chancellor, dude. Thank you guys. The new chancellor of Germany, which is a very that's a funny title to have, is not very hesitant about sending Taurus missiles. So the thought process is now that the German government will end up sending Taurus missiles to Ukraine, which will further hurt Germany's economic position, their geostrategic position. It's just not a good play for Germany. It's not going to change anything. I've told you guys this time and time again. 200, 300 missiles of any make or model, it does not matter unless they are nuclear tipped, are not going to make a difference in this war. The Russians have fired, I think, 6 to 8 Iskander ballistic missiles just today. And the Ukrainian army isn't just outright losing, right? So there's nothing that 2 or 3 Tauruses a day is really going to change. It might do some damage, but it's not going to change anything on the battlefield. So that we'll also talk about that here in a little bit. All right, let's go over to the updates, shall we? And we have a ton to talk about here today. So up to the Kursk region. The Kursk region has now been entirely vacated of Ukrainian troops in the original Kursk incursion zone. So this is now done. I will be making a post about this in my collapse series now that the Kursk incursion has faltered and the Ukrainians have been forced out of this pocket. If we come over here to the Sumy region, we can see that the Sumy buffer zone is now becoming much more imposing upon the the Sumy region itself. And the most important village in this area for the Russians is Yanakivka right here. If the Russians are able to reach Yanakivka, this will be the establishment of the Sumy buffer zone, basically. It will put them directly on the road into Sumy. It will put them right outside of this forestry. And I'll take you over to the topographical map in just a second when I get done talking about this other area. But if the Russians are able to make it basically out to this road right here, you can see it. It goes all the way up into the Kursk region. This is where the high ground naturally sits. So the Russians will be able to sit on this high ground and look directly into Sumy itself. So this buffer zone is now becoming a real issue for the Ukrainians. And something to take note of here is that the Ukrainians had all of their high quality units in this area. Now, there's a lot going on in other parts of the front. So units may have been moved from this location to, say, like Konstantinivka in the Donetsk area. But this area should not be yielding results for the Russians. And the biggest issue that the Ukrainians are now experiencing is with a manpower shortage, as the Ukrainians have. They have to decide whether they are going to reinforce this area and prevent the Russians from moving into the Sumy region further, or if they're going to hold some of these very, very crucial and important defense structures and cities in the east of the country, right? There's 3 major developments happening now in the Donetsk area itself. And this will be the discussion of today's live stream, which is, you know, possible summer offensive locations that we're going to talk about. But the Ukrainians have to decide whether they're going to hold this, you know, hold Kupiansk, hold Kharkov, hold Sumy. They have to decide now. And it's very clear because the Russians are progressing everywhere. So the Ukrainians, not only can they not hold all areas except maybe one, maybe, you know, Sumy's out of the way. It's not the most important area that they're going to let the Russians advance, do some attrition there, whatever. It is southern Donetsk, central Donetsk, Kharkov, the LPR. It's everywhere. Everywhere around the map is moving very, very quickly. And just the fact that the Russians are just pushing in here and again, just creating another area of pressure for the Ukrainians. And the fact that the Ukrainians are not able to withstand this pressure and the Russians are still advancing while they have they should have a large reserve of troops in this area, along with Sumy being a natural staging point. This is just a very clear indicator of the overall health of the AFU right now. All right. Okay. All right. So moving over to this area of the front here, I'm going to actually make this blue. We have had a second Ukrainian Kursk incursion, this time near the village of Tetkino. This village is directly next to the Siman River right here, the river in which the Ukrainians had blown the bridges that the Russians were using. This area of the Russian border is actually kind of goofy in terms of like just geography. Like if you're looking at it from a military view, or if you're just looking at it from a geographical context, I guess, why wouldn't you just make the river the border right here? You know, that just makes sense to me as it comes up into this part of the river as well. I mean, I guess So I just don't know why this part is not in Ukraine, because it already naturally follows the river all the way up, except in this part right here. So the Ukrainians knocked out these bridges and were able to basically just turn this into a gray zone / their control. I have it as gray because that's what Deep State has it as. And I don't always follow Deep State, but if Deep State doesn't claim that the Ukrainians control it, I'm not going to claim that either, obviously. So moving down here, we have seen since yesterday or the day before, I can't exactly remember when it started, the Ukrainians have been trying to cross over the border into this area of Kursk, most likely to disrupt the Victory Day celebrations that Russia is orchestrating a ceasefire around. We are also going to talk about that in a second. But so far, the Ukrainians have been getting absolutely moshed on the Ukrainian side of the border as they attempt to cross into this area. The furthest that they have made it is into this string of houses right here, which is quite literally 364 feet from the border. And I know a foot doesn't make sense to you Euro bros. So this would be like 100 meters. They made it, 100 meters into Russian territory. And then subsequently, and you can watch this video on or you can see a screenshot of this video on my Twitter. This area was then hit with multiple glide bombs. So most of these houses are now gone, and the Ukrainians in them are also likely gone. So again, we're just seeing this very watered down Ukrainian military trying to accomplish some sort of distraction, PR win, this, that, or the other. And, you know, Kursk failed. Like the Kursk incursion, it lasted 9 months. You can say whatever you want about it, but there were specific objectives that were not achieved in the initial thrust. The Ukrainians were then trapped by the narrative that they had built around it, and they were destroyed over those 9 months because of this Kursk incursion that they were trying to hold for purely PR reasons, right? So that's really the overarching situation. If you go across the map, you know, okay, buddy, you got to move out of my way. I know, you got to move. Dude, stop. Okay. Sorry, guys. The old pupper is getting a little restless over here. Sorry. So this is the overall sort of health of the AFU. This is what you're looking at. You're looking at equipment shortages, manpower shortages across the board, but they're still trying to just accomplish something everywhere. We're seeing counterattacks constantly that are continuously failing. We saw one at Chasiv Yar. We've seen them in southern Donetsk and the Kursk incursion. Additionally, the Ukrainians have lost multiple engineering crews and equipment, mine clearers, stuff like that, as well as we've seen the Ukrainians utilizing ATVs quite heavily, which in the anecdotal videos I've seen have been pretty much destroyed with artillery. So this has been an incredible loss of life and equipment for the Ukrainians for absolutely no achievement. The Russians are very strong in this entire area. So the fact that they, again, just went, a couple miles or kilometers down the border from where they had been is probably not the best idea if you want to accomplish anything significant in the region. I do think they chose this area, though, because it's just kind of naturally in a salient, so they can position all the way around it. And the Russians that are holding this area are in a bad position. But the Ukrainians just aren't accomplishing what they had planned to, or hoped to. We could definitely see an increased incursion if the Ukrainians decide to commit. I don't know what their manpower accumulation is, but there's not a very large staging area here. I mean, I guess you could stage out of here, but it's pretty exposed all the way to the border. So, all right, that is the Kursk region. Moving down to the, do I have any updates up here? Let's see. Let me see that one that we were talking about. I believe you're talking about, you said south of Kupiansk. They've moved into what village? I actually don't know which village you're talking about exactly. Let me go back to my thing and let's see what you said. The village of Korlayelivka. Okay, let's see. Am I missing it? Not this one. They haven't moved into that one yet. I don't know which one exactly you're talking about, but if you write me another message, I'll take a look. All right, moving down to the Le Mans front here, just a small Russian advance off the Zhibyets River right here, just kind of closing the gap between Makivka and what's the next town? Balka-Zakova. I don't know. Not a large update, just sort of the leveling of the front here. There is an update right down here that I am actually going to fill out for you guys right now. I just saw it before I got on. In the Bilohorivka/Seversk front area, Russian forces have really leveled out the front here and have made significant progress outside of Bilohorivka. This is a very difficult area to move in. So the fact that the Russians are moving here is rather significant. And the front looks something like this now. This is not going to be exact. I am going to do a correction after this just to make sure it looks good and everything. But something in the area of this is what it looks like now outside of Bilohorivka. The Russian forces are very much close to starting the Battle of Seversk. And this is what I talked about, right? The second the Ukrainians lost this high ground here, everything was going to fall apart in this region. And this is, again, this is one of those areas that is just a microcosm for the health of the AFU. If the Russians are progressing in Seversk, you know something is wrong with the AFU. So, yeah. It's the center of the Russian salient by Senkove. Okay, let me look here. It's the center of the Russian salient next to Senkove. Is it down here? Oh man, I'm sorry, brother. I don't know what village you're talking about. I don't see that. Yeah, I'm sorry, brother. I don't know. Send me a map on one. DM me a map, and I'll take a look at that. All right, continuing with the updates. Okay, moving down to Chasiv Yar. Again, high ground here. This has sort of been the theme of all of these advances lately. The Russians have just been taking a lot of very important high ground. Again, here north of Chasiv Yar, Russian forces have taken a majority now of the high ground above Chasiv Yar. This is going to, again, help them begin to branch out to the north along the canal and to the west in the direction of Druzhkivka and south towards Konstantinivka. The Battle of Chasiv Yar is, like I said, it's one of the most important areas for the Ukrainians. The fighting is very intense here. And again, this is the area where you should expect some of the least amount of Russian progress because of how vital this is to the Ukrainian armed forces. Progress will continue everywhere around this area until eventually it breaks. But for right now, the Ukrainians are even still holding a presence in this part of Chasiv Yar, which is just abysmal. It gets bombed and nobody survives in here for very long, but the Ukrainians are maintaining a presence. So they're trying their damnedest to hold this, and they're actually doing a pretty good job. But it is costing them some significant equipment losses and stuff like that. So, all right, Hades, go. No, Hades, go. Go. I love you, but you got to go. All right, moving down to the Donetsk area here. Russian forces have advanced out of Deshane, out of Kremensky here, out of the industrial zone, and have just advanced the front up to the village of Delivka and up to this small reservoir. Again, this is just the continuing blossom of Donetsk. Once these Terracones came under full Russian control, the Russians are now going to begin branching out as they just control most of the dominant high ground in the region. So this advance here expected. You should expect a similar advance right along in this little pocket right here. And I think you're going to see a lot more activity in the Bielahora, Delivka area over here. Also, Delivka. Hey, guys, just pick a different name. Change one letter in it, and it's something different. Who was like, what should we name this place? How about we name it Delivka? Probably means something, but I don't care. All right. Moving down to the garbage front. Now, this is the area where the Russians are seeing a tremendous amount of success, and we are actually looking at a development of an encirclement now. This is what I was talking about when I'm talking about like the Sumy region, the Ukrainians not having enough manpower to defend these areas. You look here, this is significant fortified area. This part of the front should not be moving, much like Avdiivka should not have been moving at the time that it was. Some of these other areas like Ugledar, when Ugledar started moving, my bad, I went too far. When Ugledar started moving, everybody knew that something was wrong with the AFU, right? It was very clear because this area had held for so long. And then the second it started to buckle, it just collapsed and the Russians expanded out 15 kilometers from that area. That is what you're seeing right here. And that is what is about to happen in this area. So I've called this the garbage front for a long time because if you guys remember, this is Oshitny right here. And Kermak and, Arkhangelsk. These three locations were captured during the breakthrough after Avdiivka. So this is over a year ago, I believe at this point, that these locations were captured. The Russians have not progressed very far since that time, like 2 miles here, right? Just right off the front. However, now we are seeing the Russians advance up this low ground right here. The high ground in Alexandropol is the last remaining high ground that the Ukrainians really control in this entire pocket. I'm also going to show you this high ground. Actually, let me just show you this high ground right now since we're talking about it. Okay, where are we? Konstantinivka. Hey, we're in the right area. So here's Kermak, here's Orchitny. We will zoom in here, and you will see that the Russians control this village right here. They have approached this village right here. They have advanced north of Sukabalka over here. So they control all of this high ground. They control a good amount of this high ground right here. And they control all of this high ground up in this area now as well. So the Russians' last goal is to push out into Alexandropol, capture this high ground. And then, as I was showing you guys, going back over to my map, and then as I had predicted a couple of weeks ago, Russian forces were going to advance. You can see that they're advancing directly along this area, which I had also made. I made this almost a year ago, I'm pretty sure at this point. The Russians just did not push as hard in this area as I expected. They pushed a lot more down here than what I was expecting. But you can see that the prediction is correct in the timing is wrong, but the prediction is correct in the direction that they were going to go. It's pretty apparent to me, but you can see here that they are directly Oh, this map did not save the way it was supposed to. So I'll fix this here in a second too. This looks different right here. The Russians have advanced and made a pretty significant breakthrough along the green line, which I had told you is where the front line will be in a couple of months. This is where it will rest along this low ground right here. And again, I will go back over to my map, or the topographical map. And you can see what I'm referring to here. Here's Konstantinivka. Here is that low ground that they are following. It's sort of like a creek bed. This is where my green line follows around the reservoir. And then over here, down, here's Bela Hora, which I talked about. You're going to see a lot more contention. And then here's Chesav Yar and Shevchenko up here. So this is where the Russians are going to advance along this blue, along the blue, up into Chesav Yar. And you can see that the Russians already control almost all of the dominant high ground around Konstantinivka, around Druzhkivka, and here you can see them, as long as they push out north, capturing Seversk, getting onto this canal will be the end of the Battle of the East, because there's just really not going to be a very good way for the Ukrainians to supply and hold this line once the Russians get onto this high ground. Now, will they just back out of there? Absolutely not. That's not what's going to happen. But as I've said throughout the years that I've been doing this, the further the Russians push, the weaker and weaker the Ukrainian lines are going to become, and the greater the successes. And once the successes become great, or so large to the point where the Ukrainians are fumbling to recover, that's when you're going to see a collapse in the sense of what you would think of as a collapse when you talk about a military in a large collapse, right? What I'm referring to when I do my collapse series is the fact that the Russians are fighting an attrition war and the Ukrainians are fighting a war where they are not retreating under any circumstances. So when you have those two forces battling it out like this, what ends up happening is not a lot of movement, not a lot of maneuvering. It's a very stagnant battle, and the Russians are utilizing their firepower to destroy the weaker and smaller Ukrainian army, right? If the Russians, I've been saying this for a while now, I believe that if the Russians were to commit to some sort of 10-kilometer breakthrough anywhere around the front, they would see immediate success and probably a wild unraveling of the Ukrainian line. But the Russians, I believe, have already committed to this sort of style of warfare that we're talking about. And I really don't blame them, because any sort of large aero offensive at this point, any massive accumulation of Russian troops and equipment is just asking for, you know, a Ukrainian propaganda win, just asking for Ukraine to actually win a battle at this point in the war. And it just doesn't make logical sense. If you're a betting man, if you were a gambling man, you would not want the Russians to go on some sort of offensive right now. They are very clearly winning with their methodology, but you're not seeing the effects of it the way you would if they were advancing in, you know, in the way that a lot of at least Westerners think of wars as going, right? You don't just sit back and shoot at each other forever and hope that eventually they run out of men. That's just not really in our thinking. We're shock and awe, get in there, invade the country, take it over. It's done in a couple months sort of deal. And that hasn't worked for us at all. So the Russians are going about it a different way. And I believe that this methodology of the Russians is also very productive for the political side of it. You know, the Russians are not bringing attention to themselves. They're not bringing attention to the conflict. And the best way to defeat the U.S. is just to get us bored and the, you know, the loss or the cost ratio for the U.S. to be in the negative is basically what you need to happen for Russia to have an outstanding victory. So I think that they're just going to continue on this path, and that's not going to change for very long. I did want to take you guys up to the Sumy region where I was going to show you that high ground that I was talking about here, just along the road. You can see it. The road goes right up here into the Kursk region. Here is Shuja. So the Russians just want to dominate this high ground as their buffer zone and probably not go much further than that. All right. All right, guys. We are almost done. Let me put this away. I'm going to update this map because this map change did not save. It was supposed to, but it did not. Russian forces have completely captured the village of Novolinivka, as well as the fortifications along the 0504 highway, and have captured the entirety of this bank of this lake right here. So the Russians are making some pretty dramatic moves in this area of the front, and it is yielding some tremendous results. And remember, guys, this is the area where the Ukrainians should, again, be holding very well. It's very close to Pokrovsk. It's very close to Minhorod. It is very close to Konstantinivka up to the north. So excuse me here while I do some map editing. This was supposed to save last time. It did not before my live stream, but I did post it. So you guys have already seen this update if you follow me on those socials. Speaking of which, if you guys do not subscribe to my page, please subscribe to my page. If you guys have not followed me on Telegram or Twitter, you can go to the link of this YouTube video to find the description of this YouTube video to find those links. And that's where you can stay up to date with everything that's happening in Ukraine, most of what's happening around the world, and when I go live in my live streams. Sorry for that little advertisement. So this is more or less what this situation looks like now. And as you can see, a massive development is happening now around these fortifications. The Russians will likely soon capture these from the south. I think the Ukrainians are going to be forced to retreat because the Russians have also reached out into Alexandropol, and I'm going to do this update after this live stream is over. Once they have that captured, Zoria and Romanivka are going to become the new sort of line up here. The Ukrainians will be forced to retreat out of this area. The front will level, and the Russians will dominate the high ground, forcing the Ukrainians behind this reservoir right here and on the 0504 leading to Konstantinivka. Once this happens, guys, once the Russians have leveled out the front along this creek and along this, this will probably come later. The Battle of Konstantinivka, the pressure on Konstantinivka is really going to begin. And I really do believe, buddy, are you serious? I don't need you pushing my arm right now. My dog is battling me for attention. Come say hi to everybody. Okay, now go. Now go. Now go. I love him, but he's very aggressive with how much he wants me to love him. The Russians are going to eventually push this out. Like I said, the Battle of Konstantinivka is going to begin. And what that will mark is the final battle for the east of Ukraine. They're going to fight along this line and push the Ukrainians out. Once the Ukrainians are pushed out, there is basically nothing until the Dnieper River. And now he has a bottle that he's chewing on. All right. So just so I covered the updates, advance here north of Sukabalka, advance into Stara Mokalivka, the capture of Novolinivka, and Russian forces have advanced, capturing the entirety of the ring road, entering the village of Malinivka here, which will lead them eventually into Minhorod from the east. But more importantly, they will advance up around the back of Minhorod and try to cut this line of logistics into the city with fire. All right. Moving down. Also, this is another update. It will be in the next video. The village of Lysivka has come under full Russian control. Moving down to Novo Alexandrivka here, we have just a one tree line, one field update for the Russians in the direction of the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. Nothing major or significant, just a small front line update. Here we have the Russians have captured the village of Kalatorivka and are now almost into the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. If they put their rifles high enough and shoot, the bullets will likely reach into a different oblast. So we are right here on the precipice of the Russians crossing into this area. Them crossing into this area would mark a major shift in the supposed negotiating standpoint, I guess. I'm not that there are any negotiations, but the reality is that once the Russians get into this area, there's going to be talks of this entire area coming under Russian control eventually, or, you know, will the Russians leave if there's ever an agreement, capitulation by the Ukrainians? That's sort of that's the implications of this event when it happens. I've been waiting for this for quite some time. All right, moving down to the southern front here, I guess. Not quite the southern front. Close, though. Russian forces have advanced into the village of Bahatir. They have not captured this fortification. Deep State's map here is so far behind. They have the Russians in the village, but it's like a gray zone line that comes up and spirals in like that. It's ridiculous. Do not be following Deep State for your guys' updates. They are weeks and weeks behind in some areas. It's quite bad. Ever since they got in trouble with the SBU. All right. Moving down to Vilne Pole. Russian. Dude, I love you, but you got to go. You got to go, buddy. You got to go. You got to go. Get out of my face. Hades, go. Go. Out. Okay, let's go. Out of the room. Out of the room. Out of the room. Let's go. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. He's bumping me. I love him, but he's bumping me. All right. So Russian forces have advanced here south of Vilne Pole, have just leveled out the front around Novoselivka. Oh my God, this update didn't save as well. I am very upset with my map right now. This is very frustrating. Looks very unprofessional on my end. I never claimed to be very professional to begin with, but it looks worse. So, all right. Russian forces have advanced along this advanced in this corner of the front in the direction of Zelene Pole. They are getting very close to the Dnipropetrovsk region from the south now. They're about to reach it up here, about to reach it from this area as well. They just have to get into this corner of these fields right here. So realistically, we can measure this out. Russian forces are 5 kilometers from the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast on this front as well. To the south here, just a general advance out of the Zaporozhye Oblast into the Donetsk Oblast and in the direction of Novopil. And I think that is it for the updates today, guys. Sorry that took so long. That was forever, but I appreciate you all listening and hanging out for that. Let's see. What happened to the Ukrainians in Kursk? Which ones? These ones have been entirely pushed out. This incursion, the bigger one that happened 9 months ago, 9 months ago. And then this smaller one that happened 2 days ago has yielded almost no results except a lot of casualties for the Ukrainians. I've seen probably 20 to 30 vehicles lost already in this incursion, probably 15 motorcycles and ATVs destroyed. We've seen a bunch of different things happen in this area that just do not equate with a successful operation. We also saw today that Ukrainian forces are now bringing HIMARS extremely close to the front. And in fact, there was a HIMARS strike somewhere 10 kilometers from the front. So somewhere back over in this area, a HIMARS was spotted firing from here. It was then taken out by an FPV drone, not a fiber optic FPV drone, but a normal jammable FPV drone. So that, again, shows sort of the situation that the Ukrainians are in. They don't have deep strike capabilities. They're bringing their HIMARS incredibly close to the front. HIMARS has been experiencing a lot of issues with targeting, being very far off from the target location that it's firing at because of Russian jamming and stuff like that. So HIMARS has been experiencing a lot of issues, and their losses have gone up significantly. Yesterday, 2 were tracked from a Maverick drone because, again, they're so close to the front. This Maverick drone was just sitting back, saw the HIMARS go off. The HIMARS scooted after shooting to a local warehouse that was also in view of the Maverick. An Iskander was then called in on that building. The results of the strike are unknown, but it can be assumed that the Ukrainians probably lost 2 HIMARS. All right, let's see. You guys asked some questions here. India attack on Pakistan? Haven't seen much news on it. Yeah, I just saw that the let's see. There's sirens on right now, and I'm checking the news, guys, for you right now because things are happening as we speak. So there were explosions heard in Pakistan, in a bunch of different cities. Yeah, it sounds like there's some active combat going on. I'm just going to read you guys updates. So that's what's happening right now because I'm not up to date on this. Because it's been happening as we've been talking. The Pakistani army spokesman confirms that India launched missiles at 3 locations inside of Pakistan and Pakistani administered areas, and that Pakistan will respond with full force. Wow. Okay. We got another war, boys. Another war's on. We got a Paki-Pajit war going now. Let's see. Now, Pakistan fighter jets actively patrolling the skies of Islamabad. New Indian strike targeted a mosque in Koltili, Pakistani administered Azad Kashmir. Okay, so they struck a mosque. Probably not the best way to start this. 3 locations were hit. The Indian government confirms it carried out 9 strikes inside of Pakistani territory, saying they were non-escalatory in nature. Go figure, huh? How is a missile strike non-escalatory in any nature? Don't know how that works. If you guys go to my Telegram, you can see all of this information. I'm forwarding it from Middle Eastern Spectator. Also, go follow Middle Eastern Spectator. He does pretty good work. You got to ignore the biases of any channel that you're watching, but the news is pretty decent. India asked Pakistan earlier today through the Iranian ambassador in Islamabad not to retaliate to an upcoming strike, saying it would be a non-escalatory event. Iran reportedly refused to convey the insulting and ridiculous message and told India to tell Pakistan themselves. Breaking. Pakistan closes its airspace for 48 hours. La la la. Okay. I'm seeing dead women and children already from the strike, so that's not good. Okay. The Pakistani military is preparing a swift and immediate response. And then Pakistan has started the process of retaliation. So here we go, boys. This is pretty wild. This is kind of crazy. So yeah, Pakistan and India. Now I have another area that I'm now an expert in, by the way. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the second something starts happening on the internet and I read a few things about it, I'm locked in already up here. Will there ever be a serious battle for Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, or will the AFU basically be gone by then? Also, consider doing drone fundraisers for RU units. No, I am not doing that. I am never going to give money to any military organization or event. I think that is extremely bad practice, just because most of, in my personal opinion, I think that is the number one way that money laundering happens. You know, not laundering necessarily, but grifting, fraudulent activity. We've seen it nonstop in the Ukrainian information space. I don't want to deal with other people's money in a sort of middleman transactionary position. It's dirty, and I just don't have any want or need to do that. So no, the Russian military units are fine. They can do their own fundraising. I will not be doing that. Because that's just not appropriate, in my personal opinion, for my position at all. Will we ever see a serious battle for Slavyansk and Kramatorsk? You know, I don't know. I've always said probably not. The cities are so dense and large that there might be, but like we've seen, if the Ukrainian military continues to attrit at the rate that it is, I don't believe that there will be a significant or hefty battle for those two cities. No. I have a theory. Will this situation be like Pakistan and Iran? India and Pakistan will lob missiles at each other to please the populace, and that's it. That's a very real possibility. A limited, non-escalatory exchange that allows both sides to walk away without bruised egos. For sure. I think that is a very real possibility. You can't be an expert. You haven't been. Actually, I have been to India, not in any political capacity. I went there when I was in high school to help with a soccer camp for a week. And it was gross. It was gross there. Why are the majority of Westerners so smooth-brained? Because we win a lot. We win and we have excess everything. So we never have to critically think, because that's stressful and reduces the happiness and your quality of life. Imagine being a dork online who runs a podcast where every day he's ridiculed by every side of the political aisle for his opinions and, I guess, just reality of telling reality to people that don't want to hear it. On Twitter, you know, on my live streams, there's some people in here that are like that. It's unhappiness. Ignorance is bliss generally, right? If you don't know what's going on in the world, if you're just somebody farming in some little quiet corner of the world and you got nothing to worry about, why would you stress yourself with a bunch of dead babies in Gaza? It's just pointless, right? Ignorance is bliss, and I will never be blissful, because to me, ignorance is like awful. It just doesn't make sense. How many nukes do they each have? A couple hundred. Kalibrated. I've been arguing with somebody for a few days. If Ukraine has been kicked out of Kursk, can you give geolocated proof that there are no in the force? No, I can't. Because here's the deal. When you're talking about these border regions, there is always a possibility that Ukrainians can come across and enter into these little forested areas. We do have geolocations from all of these areas. You can go find them. Cream, there's a particular geolocator that I use regularly. He does a very good job. He's shown geolocations of Russians in all of these different areas, but the front is not just a line. You don't just stop people everywhere. If at night a unit of Ukrainians decides to go in and infiltrate this area, they can do so. But there is no significant Ukrainian presence in the Kursk region at all. That's what you can say. If somebody wants to walk across a border, they can and get hit by a mortar 15 minutes later. That's fine. But that's not really controlling any territory or anything like that. They have no stable control in the Kursk region. Scott, you think India and Pakistan war will last a week? It depends. If there is a war, it depends on the type of war. If it stays conventional, it will last much more than a week, I'm sure. Yeah, I think India and Pakistan have the same amount of nukes, about 170-ish each. Yeah, a couple hundred. I hate Bliss. Welcome, clown. Yeah, it's true. Bro, not knowing what's going on and then listening to people talk about stuff and they have just generally no clue what's happening is crippling to my soul. It hurts me so deep inside of myself that I'll never let it happen. No one will ever use nukes, so it doesn't really matter how many anyone has. Tell that to the United States. Tell that to Cerno on Twitter, bro. He thinks everybody's using nukes. Yep, bro. India just bombed Pakistan. I just read all those updates, guys. So Pakistan says that they are bombing India now. Breaking. India says Pakistan is violating a ceasefire agreement. The Pakistani Army and Air Force are currently responding. Pakistani media citing security stories. Pakistani missiles have been launched towards India. Here we go, boys. Here we go. I'm not excited. It's more like stressful. Like, I just know that I'm going to be up all night covering a new part of the world with new locations that I cannot pronounce to save my life. It's going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun, guys. I got nuked just now. That's how my stream started, dude. A high altitude nuclear device went off and my stream got shut down at the beginning. Yeah, I'm pretty stressed, Scott. Hey, listen, stay safe, brother. Please be safe. Do whatever you can to limit your exposure to anything that's going on around you. If you guys don't know, I probably say your name wrong every time, but Kazam, that's just what I call you, is in Pakistan right now, and every time I do a stream, he is always in here watching me. He's one of my main guys. Stay safe, brother. If you want, please message me if you have any information about what's going on around you. I'm always looking for sources on the ground. So I would appreciate that. If you are in any area near any of this action, let me know. Yeah, really, Pakistan launched an attack. Yes, really. I stay strong. Nothing more will happen. No real war ever happens. Nothing ever happens. Just stick your head in the sand. It's Kazam. He's a Russian missile. Gotcha. KH. Gotcha. KH Azam. Yes. Stay safe, brother. We all care about you. Be good. Yeah, it's not his real name. Obviously, it's just his screen name, and that's I'm not. What? Hey Jeff. Hey Jeff in Pakistan. You stay safe, brother. I don't know his name. Thanks, Scott in chat. I'll keep an eye out. Yep. Stay safe, brother. Appreciate you. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I call him that, is because I've watched Berserker, so I know what his name means. Obviously, that's not his real name. Calibrated, unrelated, but what gym routine do you do? You know, guys, when there are multiple large-scale conflicts going on in the world, nothing warms my heart more than a gym bro question. Um, uh, what gym routine do you do, and how is it working for you? I'm looking for a program. I just do a very basic bodybuilder split. I don't do a lot of training that what would you call it? No like realistic training, like body weight training, and like I do push-ups and pull-ups and stuff, but I don't do a ton of calisthenics and stuff like that. So I just do arms, legs. I split my legs, hamstring, quad. So I'll do quad, and then 3 days later hamstrings. I build my weeks around those 2 days. So I go chest, legs, arms, back, or back, arms, legs, and then sometimes I do shoulders, but I have shoulder issues, so I do that like once every 2 weeks, maybe. Yeah, gym questions are always goated. It really just disrupts my ranting and raving about nonsense. Boys, listen, this is a top tier question. This is a good question, because I used to slaughter, and then I got girlfriends, and in between those girlfriends, I've slaughtered, but right now I'm more like floating in it. I'm not so much drowning. There's not enough to drown in. I just have a monogamous amount. So unfortunately, not unfortunately because I love her a lot, but unfortunately because it's fun. Okay, now it's getting a little gay. Now we're getting the big bald Viking. How big are your biceps, bro? Yeah, I shouldn't have gone down this route. My bad, everybody. Let's see. You see the history legends even jumped on the North Koreans in Ukraine train. At what point will the biased reporters pay for peddling false info, man? Yeah, I mean, the Russian government admitted that there were North Koreans there. I don't think that there are necessarily North Koreans in Ukraine. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things that it never truly mattered. The only reason it mattered so much was because of the Ukrainian propaganda surrounding it, and this whole, the world is against us sort of thing. So, yeah. Damn, Scott is whipped. No, it's not whipped. It's that when you hang out with a bunch of different girls, you start having the same conversations with people, and they're really dumb. And like the girls are really dumb, and then you find one that's really cool and does a lot of recreational drugs with you and really likes dogs and has the same sort of like ideas and perspectives as you just want to keep one of those around. So it's definitely not a whipped situation. She wishes she was in charge like that. Actually, she probably doesn't. She doesn't like making decisions, so I can't imagine expending that much effort and not getting anything productive done. I am rural, so we don't need a gym. Yeah, this guy is just out here throwing bays of hail, dude. Or bales of hay. Yeah, what I don't know what I just said. Bales of hay. Like, that's cool, bro. That's awesome. I go to war in the gym, so it has nothing to do about productivity. There is a part of me, and this has always existed. It existed when I played sports. I just think of it as sort of like a warrior mentality. You get to a point where your body is telling you that it can't go on, and then you just push through that. Like, I need that almost every day. If I don't have that, I start to go crazy. I have like almost like an obsessive sort of personality. So when it comes to different things, I hyper focus and I obsess over them and I get really good at them. And then I stop doing them because I get bored. It's how I've always been. And the gym is just one of these things where I'm always battling myself. Nobody else matters. It's only me. It's up to me. And so to me, it has nothing to do with productivity. I can go be productive if I want to elsewhere. I can go, whatever. If I need to go cut a tree down and split some logs to develop muscle mass, I can do that if I want. But nothing provides the same kind of resistance and I guess pressure that the gym does. It's designed to put the weight on your body in the proper way. Also, I just feel like I would hurt myself if I was throwing hay all day. So Kalibrated, do you think Zelensky will drone attack May 9th parade? I think absolutely he will. Why wouldn't he? He'll at least send drones in that direction. I don't think that there's very large possibility of those drones actually reaching Putin or Xi or any of the other leaders that attend. But yeah, I think that it's very clear that the Ukrainians are not going to go along with the ceasefire. The ceasefire doesn't make any sense at all for the Ukrainians. I don't blame them for not going along with it. And it's a good move by Putin because it's going to show that the Russians are the ones that are willing to go commit to a ceasefire while the Ukrainians are going to try to kill Xi in the parade in Moscow. It's a perfectly baited trap for Zelensky. And if the SBU and Zelensky falls into it, they do so at their own behest. Training high intensity or high volume? I don't think high intensity and high volume they don't really conflict. It would be heavy or high volume. And I do both. Like I say, I train like a madman. So my intensity is high. I'm always the hardest working person in the gym. I walk out of there, like on my leg days, I crawl basically out of the gym. Like I'm limping out of the gym because I just put everything I have into it every time I'm in there. And that's just how I have to train. If I don't train like that, I don't really want to be in there training. So both. I tend to do high volume on certain exercises. And then heavier weight, lower volume on other exercises, just because that's how I like to train. I also do pyramid sets where I'll do, say like on my incline bench. That's usually how I start my chest days. I like incline bench. It's one of my favorite exercises. I'll warm up everything, and then I'll do like 135. I'll do that for 2 sets as my warm up. And then I'll throw 225 on and I'll do 225 for 12 for 3 sets. Usually that's what I like to work with. And then depending on how I'm feeling, if I'm feeling really good, I'll throw on a 25 on that. So I don't know, whatever that is, 260, whatever. And I'll do that for like 8 reps, 6 to 8 reps. Usually I'll try to do that for 2 sets. And then I'll drop down to 225 again for a set, drop down to 135 and rep that out as much as I can. So it's a little mix of heavy and high intensity or high volume. All right. That's enough gym questions. Do I invest in the stock market? I have in the past. I don't right now because I have other investments, but not in the stock market. I don't like the lack of liquidity. How big are your calves, bro? What kind of fucking question is that? Fuck you, dude. They're really long. My calves are super long. Being 6'4", does not regularly produce the best calves genetically. They're not small, but they're definitely not as big as I want them to be. My quads make my calves look tiny. All right, guys. Let's go see if there's anything going on with the Pakistan. Pakistani media claim 2 Indian aircraft have been downed by Pakistan, according to security sources. Ooh, let's hope not. Let's hope they're just bluffing. Yeah. Okay. The ballistic missile should have hit. So I kind of want to keep this stream going just so we can kind of see how this progresses, because I'm genuinely interested. I'm just looking here. An Indian strike near the Pakistani town of Bawalapur. Man, dude, these names go crazy. This is going to be crazy. Leg day is overrated. No, it's not, sir. Leg day is how you build the entirety of your body. If your legs are huge, the upper body is going to be bigger. Trust me. Trust me. It's science. Are there any videos of the missiles yet? Yes, there are videos of the landings. I am sending them to my Telegram page. Go look on my Telegram. You guys can see them. You can see the Indian missile strikes. I have not seen any Pakistani missiles yet. The Indian Army just tweeted that the Pakistan again violates the ceasefire agreement by firing artillery in the, oh my God, Bahimber Gali in Poonch Rajouri area. Oh, please. I don't want this war to happen because I don't want civilians to get hurt, honestly, but I'm just so hoping that I get to just trash these town names, just demolish them. You thought Ukraine was bad, guys. Just wait. All right, guys. Pakistani media reports a missile strike on the Indian airbase in Sangar, located in Jammu and Kashmir. Oh, God, please don't let them use nukes. I really don't want to have to cover a nuclear explosion, guys. It's going to be all anybody talks about for days. It's going to be wild. Oh, God. Well, for those of you who are still here, be on the lookout. I think Wednesday I will be doing a live stream with Brian Berletic from the New Atlas. So be sure to tune into that. We have a lot to talk about. We haven't done a show in a while. You should just do a live posing, bro. No, I'm not doing that. You guys are fun. You guys are so goofy. Let's see. Can you report the names? I don't want to get canceled. I could, but it's going to look really bad. The internet's forever, guys. And I've already done a lot of live streams that people can pull from. There's probably a lot of bad stuff throughout all of my live streams packed away in there. So, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that one just because of a lot of reasons. Primarily because I'm going to butcher an Indian accent if I try it. So, FWIW. For what it's worth, there's precedent. They didn't go nuclear in Kargil in 99. Probably won't this time either. Yeah, but that's not fun. Come on, bro. We got a second son. It's time. It's been too long. What's the deal with the so-called terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan? I honestly don't know. I know that in Kashmir, it's sort of this, like, there's been a long contested issues in Kashmir. Kashmir has some Pakistani-backed militants. They are regularly causing problems for the Indians. The Indians are causing problems for the Pakistanis. So it's been this issue for a long time. But I think really the bigger issue is the fact that the Indians have stopped the water flow into Pakistan, which is actually like a national security risk for Pakistan. When's the hot tub stream? Soon, brother, soon. Yeah, that's what I'm going to start doing. I'm just going to become one of those e-girl streamers where, you know, I have it in like a weird location and I'm like painting, but it's like all you can see is my ass for some reason and my big old boobies. That's what I would make so much more money, guys, and I would not have to try to pronounce Indian town names. Except probably I would because most of my donations would probably be from Indian men. So I would probably have to do some Indian pronunciation, but I'd get better at it over time, I'm sure. All right, guys, that's where I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much. This has been episode 149 of Calibrated with Scott. Please go follow me on my socials for updates on Ukraine, Pakistan, the Middle East, everything going on in the world. Click that like button if you haven't. Leave a comment. It helps me just get noticed by the algorithm, get more people in here so I can argue with more dipshits. It's always fun. For all of you who are my actual fans, why? Don't know. But thank you for being in here. I appreciate you all so much. I will, depending on if something happens in Pakistan, I will be doing a live stream tomorrow. Remember, I am pretty much free for the summer. So you're going to see a lot more content from me coming out in the coming weeks. Appreciate you all so much. Tune in for the next one. And please, again, check out that Telegram and Twitter to stay updated. Good night and goodbye.